Welcome back, guys. The General live here with the Truth Podcast. Today's a freaking amazing day. We're going to talk about, today is really about, you know, that everything that I build upon is mind, body, spirit. One of the things that's going to be cool for this season that I'm incorporating is we're really going to incorporate the body. We're really going to talk about the building blocks of what I feel has made me so successful, has taught me a lot of discipline that I've kind of touched on, but I haven't really gone. So what we're going to do now is kind of share the journey of what I've been really focusing on for the last 8 months, pretty hardcore, and kind of talking about that. One of the focuses is I always talk about compound interest, right? Now I'm going to be talking just about compound time. And what are you doing in your life? Are you wasting your time? Are you making excuses? Are you sitting there? For all the time that you spend making excuses, if you would have just got out there and walked around the building, how much further would you be towards your fitness game? And so what's really awesome is in this last couple of months I've been working with who I'm going to bring on as my guest here is really an amazing thing because we've been partnering up and we set up a goal and we're able to achieve the goal, and he'll be able to tell you about that himself. But one of the coolest things ever is about literally how many people do you sit out there and they just talk and nothing ever gets done? How many people have you seen in the gym talking, doesn't get done? So I want to really just break down those things. And one of the things I want to focus on, if you guys have any questions, submit them to me, submit it to him so that we can kind of talk about it in the future portions of this podcast so that we can elaborate and break things down simple. So no further ado, I want to reintroduce who's been on the podcast once, but this is more on a positive note, more swing, the Fit Prodigy. I call him my little bro. I call him the media monster because I'm the big monster, right? And he's here. What's up, Kolohe?
What's up, Brother Jack? Thanks for having me. Super excited. We're going to have some fun today.
So kind of talking about, let's tell him, you know, in the fitness world, you know, the ups and downs, and let's really go deep on this, on your fitness journey. Like, you know, how you know, your personal life was kind of in a ravel. It's now back, but we kind of stayed focused. And what I really want to talk about is kind of talk about the perspective of the strategy when we started and how it felt working with the General 101 and kind of what we did in the weight room, and start from there, I guess, so the listeners understand the background.
Yeah, well, I feel like what you always say, you know, I'm going to bring the old school. And for me, it was the middle school. And so putting, you know, what you've learned over the years of everything that you've done and what I've learned and putting it together to create what we call the new school. And it was really awesome because, you know, we worked one-on-one. We had everything going. So some days we'd do what you wanted to do. Some days we did what I wanted to do. But we really incorporated just everything with what you were doing, what I was doing, and switching things up. We put together like a plan. I think that's important. Some people just go in there and lift weights, but we put together a plan of action on what we wanted to accomplish. When we first started training, I was kind of getting ready for a show. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. I was kind of in this like, there's just a lot of life stuff going on, you know? So for me, I was like, man, I don't know if I could do it. We started getting close. The timelines were getting crunched. And one of the things that I always wanted to do, I see with people out there, especially when it comes to nutrition, is having balance, you know, balance in life. You talked about, you know, the mind, body, spirit, but having balance in everything you do in the gym and even just nutrition. I see a lot of people that will fully pull out carbs, and it creates like these eating disorders, especially with women. They're like, oh my gosh, if I have a little bit of carbs, I'm going to get fat. And the thing is what people don't realize is when you pull something completely, now your body's not used to it. But if you keep it in your diet consistently at a balanced portion, your body's still going to be used to processing those foods. And so we kept all the fun foods. We're still having a good time. We kept it balanced. And we ended up doing the show 19 days out. I signed the papers. I got everything going. We're like, all right, well, we got to get this going. And I had, you know, fun foods until about 6 days out. We're still having fun, you know, having our lunches, our dinners, eating whatever I wanted, drinking whatever I wanted, but with balance, of course. And so being able to work the foods around what muscle groups we're working out. You know, when we did legs, we obviously had a lot more calories on those days. Smaller muscle groups, we had a little bit less calories. But I feel a lot of people also don't understand that it's not just about how many calories you're taking in. Some people think, but it's like what you eat, what you eat, when you eat it, when you're taking in those foods. And so for me, I would have a lot of, making sure that my diet, especially before and after my workouts, were very nutritious and balanced. And so getting all those foods to actually power that workout, if I did all my carbs or something in the morning and didn't have anything else, I'm not going to have any energy to fuel and push through those workouts. And came showtime, we pulled off, we got the 2 wins, the 2 first places. So for me, I was excited because it was something different, not changing up my diet. Everybody does this little ridiculous diet, but for me, I'm not impressed by that, because anybody can pull carbs and you're gonna lean out. It's bound to happen, but to be able to enjoy food still and still do the things that you love, I fully believe in that. Even they say with work, you want to do something that you love. Why would you do something that's miserable and torture yourself? And honestly, it's not healthy, so.
I think one of the things we talk about is passion, right? I think one of the things about what we're doing is we've been having a lot of fun, but kind of like that journey, getting into it, there was a lot of mind focus and focusing, and you can't serve multiple masters. Like when you're doing that show, I came in and said, look, we got to get focused. We went hard, we were pushing, but it was awesome to see you really achieve those trophies. But one of the things that I think that most people in fitness don't understand is that diet is about 80%, right? It's about 80%. If you're going to bomb it out and you don't understand what you're trying to achieve, it's not going to get there. And I think the thing is, like, one of the things for me is that I think it pisses me off. I see out there, and they'll get these guys, to do these promos, and they're like, oh, he takes this protein and this, and he looks like this. We know that's not true. And I think based on the Truth podcast, there's so much in the background that we're going to touch on this podcast in future episodes and kind of breaking that down. So what I really want to do is, guys, what is really your personal goals in fitness? Do you just want to look good? Do you want to feel, 2 sizes smaller? Do you just want to feel like good? And so I want to really talk about is that fitness, when I'm talking about mind, body, spirit, we're not talking body at the level of a fitness competitor. I think that's where we're all fucked up. I think people treat money the same way. If I'm not a multimillionaire, I'm not happy. That's not true. And I think that what we're talking about, and this is kind of what our goal is, and it's what we're going to be doing in this next future, is our goal is to walk around almost competition ready in walkout weight. And we're going to document this period that we're doing to show the individuals out there what really is it. I seen pictures of Kolohe when he first started, and I'm like, man, this guy was a little guy. And you see him now, it's really been that hard work and dedication over and over and over again. And I think that most people like to kind of throw shade at anything, right? The general made it here, oh, he's a genius. Well, that doesn't matter. No. How about, I know plenty of geniuses that are broke. Oh, he's got good genetics. No, that's shit either. Oh, he took the easy route. No. And we've been laughing because if you've been watching us on Instagram, I'm out there talking, where the general's grass-fed. And this is what I want to lay out there on what grass-fed means. I'm on 0 enhancements, period, right? Kolohe knows it. People know it. But you know what? At the end of the day, how's the strength there? What's that? Well, this is what I'm going to tell you. It's compound muscle. I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. I did it for many years, very strong at it. And then I kind of took a hiatus, but I'm not starting at 0. The bank account was still full, right? And that's what I think people don't understand. And so what I want you guys to get in this podcast is those people that are listening 16, 17, 18, 20. It's never too late to start, but if you start then, it will pay dividends later. And that's kind of what I really want to talk about and kind of get Kolohe's opinion about that. What's your take on that, Kolohe?
Well, it's funny because I always hear people, they'll say, oh, I could do that too, but I like to eat too much. And that's kind of the whole portion of like showing, well, I'm eating the foods that I like too. It's about having, and this is a skill, For me, I'm like, it's not skilled if you just pull carbs. Anybody can do that. Just eat, protein and veggies all day. yeah, you're gonna get lean if you do cardio and do that. That's but is that healthy? And so when we talk about for the average person, I'm not saying like how he said, looking like competitors. It's looking so you're happy in the mirror, you know, which you're happy with yourself, whatever that may be. You know, for Jack, maybe that's, you know, 10 to 12% body fat. For someone else, it could be 18%. Whatever it is that you want to achieve. But I hate when I see somebody say like, oh, you know, I love food too much, or I can't stay disciplined on that diet. They have this mental mind just screwed up. It's all jacked up from society, thinking that they got to eat clean all the time, or they can't have that candy bar or that ice cream, and it's all false, you know. And so it's or they think, well, that guy takes stuff, you know. So we always joke, and I'm like, well, Jack's fully natural, you know. And a lot of people that you see in the gym, they are on stuff and they do look bad. Like you wouldn't even think that they are, but they're on a bunch of different stuff. But it's really comes down to, like I said, that diet. And then there's other people that what people don't get, especially with men, is as they age, their testosterone levels don't produce as like they do. So they go to these TRT clinics and they're getting hormone replacement or whatever. And so, but that's not going to give you the magic boost. You know, at the end of the day, I'm like, I could put all these nice parts in a car, but if I don't know how to drive it, I'm never going to fully perform to that level.
And I think to touch more on that, Kolohe, it's not even putting it in the car. They're buying the parts and then putting it on the shelf. It didn't go on the car, right? And so like we talk about that, right? Get out there. If you got the right people out there and you know what you're doing, by golly, take the advantage. But if you buy the parts and then you put them on the shelf and then everyone in the car, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Everything, when we talk about a balance in fitness is literally building block upon building block. You're building upon something. So if you're doing a lot of the great things, you're going to continue to move forward little by little by little by little. And then when you look back, it looks monstrous, right? But you're not changing every single day to the naked eye. You're really saying, how hard did I work? And then the other thing about it's like kind of waxing your car. If you look at yourself and you have someone who's with you, a good partner that says, not that's jealous, not the frenemy guy. We're talking to someone that really cares and says, hey, you know what? I think we might have to incorporate biceps. Let's work biceps twice a week hard for the next 3 weeks. Or let's work shoulders. And kind of like that's the piece that I think people don't understand. If you're going for those goals, you work. What I've always liked about fitness is that if you focus on the weakness portion of it, then it becomes a strength. And that's one thing that I really like about the fitness game, right?
You know, touching up on that, I think so. We always told people, you know, there's personal trainers, there's nutritionists, and then there's what we're doing right now is sculpting, and it's so much different because I see this typical, let's do 4 sets of this or 5 sets of this, and I said no. Like when we were talking, I'm like, if we got to do 10 sets of rear delts because we need to work our rear delts, when we're going to do 10, if it's a good workout, why do you need to do a different workout that may not be as effective when you could do 10, 20 sets of the same thing? Who cares if you're doing the same workout? It may not be fun, but success and doing what you need to do isn't always fun. You know, it's doing what you need to do. So growing that area that you need to grow, you know, if you need to grow your upper chest and maybe you're doing incline dumbbell press, well, do those 10 sets, you know, however many you think you need, however much you're lacking in that area. Sculpting is so much different. Instead of, I don't know where they got this 3-4 sets thing, and then you'll do 3-4 sets of another movement. No, if you have, I'd prefer to do 10, 8 sets, or even 20 sets of the most effective workout that I feel engages my upper chest the most, so I get the most out of my workout, than doing 4 sets of something and then I'm doing 4 sets of another one that hits upper chest, but I feel like it's really not as effective as something. And sculpting is a huge part that I feel like people lack. So what they do is they go heavy and they grow, but they grow the same shape. They don't ever change their shape. Yeah. Their shape doesn't change. They just become a bigger version of themselves or a smaller version.
I think what I like about your style, Kolohe, that I really incorporated by seeing that, I quite couldn't break it down in my head. I just knew what I was doing. But for the listeners, we want to break that down for them so they understand. And I think to break it down for you guys, it's like what Kolohe is trying to say is, if your upper chest is really needing help and you go and do the 3 sets of, I'll say, an incline dumbbell press, and then you go to flat bench, then you go to decline. You really didn't focus on what's there. So of course you're going to grow as a whole, but you're not going to fix the issue. Now I'll give you an example of myself, right? I have my lower back muscles are lacking compared to my abdominal muscles. So if I go and focus on working on my abdominal muscles and my core and my lower backs, and it's going to do a counterproductivity. It's going to pull me forward, right? And so those are the things that we got to focus on, and people don't know about that. So if we continuously work everything together, yes, you're going to get better, but you're going to be betterly fucked up, I call it, right? You got to focus on the one thing that you really need some extra help. One thing that we're also doing in the sculpting portion that I really like is, so I just want to break it for people, because knowledge isn't meant to be held. And the example that we do is we'll go in and we'll do chest and tries and shoulders. We'll touch a light shoulders on a Monday, right? We come in on Tuesday and we're doing back and buys. But it's not just back in a hole. It's talking about what are we going to focus that day. When we're getting to our fourth and fifth day, we're not going as heavy, but we're hitting a very sculpt piece. We may be working a lot more machines or cables. And this was really brought me back to my fight days, right? When I trained with Luke and stuff. That was his style. And so I liked it versus when I started very early on with Al, who was a straight power lifter. And you were going to get big and strong and powerful, but there was a lot of injuries. And so I was like, I don't want injuries. I want to be able to. So when I told Kolohe, from experience, when I sat with him, I said, look, I'm going to tell you this. You look phenomenal. I'm going to be a 12% guy. I want to be like the NFL fast. I want to be able to have that extreme cardio fuel to be able to whoop your ass if I need to. So that 12% is going to look phenomenal. You're going to be there looking amazing at the swimming pool. You're going to feel good about yourself. When you start to go those other deficits, you're stage ready, but you're not going to be able to maintain. You're not going to have speed. You're not going to have power. You're not going to have endurance. You can't have it all. And I think there's no one that really talks about that. They just give you some bullshit load, and it's not going to work. And so that's what I think we've been missing in the fitness industry is a bunch of load of stories. And this is why in the Truth podcast, I want to be able to break that down and really see it, because we got a guy here who's done fucking phenomenal. I laugh at Kolohe all the time. He's one of my, it's kind of funny because we've built a very strong personal relationship. And you guys all know out there, I don't really build personal relationships. I'm a very kind of like surface individual. And I don't mean by surface, I kind of keep a thing. And one thing I learned is the reason I think we've done so well, in my mind, I have no interest of saying I want to dethrone this guy in physique. I could give less a fuck. It's not my deal, right? But it makes me think I'm proud of him. Like, wow, that's badass shit. What I see in the fitness industry is a bunch of people doing the same thing, but literally trying to dethrone themselves across the deal. A very cesspool mentality. Doesn't work. In business, with the whales, us as whales, we're not taking ourselves down. We're helping each other out there in our ecosystems. I don't understand that. I think the second piece that I think is freaking completely nuts is that when I looked at this, a lot of people are like, well, have you done this? Have you done that? And when he made a comment to me one day that really stuck in my head, and I said, well, how many competitors are out there, but how many have ever been featured in Muscle and Fitness? And I really stopped to think about that. And I said, that's a national publication. Like, there's been a lot of people in my world say, I've done what the general's done, but how many young entrepreneurs laid by the federal government say, I've been out there? That's to be the attribute, right? And so what I want people to understand is you don't come out there and say this, that, the other. Just let your fucking achievements speak for yourself. The other thing I really liked about you, Kolohe, that I've seen and why I've wanted to do this is how you take the time to work with people that aren't athletes. You know, one lady that really sticks out to me is the lady at the bank that was pushing a walker around. You took her and she makes a comment to you and says, you know what? You know, I wish I could be fit like you, and you took her up on her offer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was at the bank, and I'm at the bank a lot. They know me pretty well, but she told me, hey, she kind of asked some questions and fitness stuff, which a lot of people do, but she's sitting down, so I didn't know she had trouble walking. And so I was just listening to this person, and there's a lot of people that come, and I'm like, I'm not sure if this person is serious or not. But every time I came after that first comment time she said something, she was very, like, seemed more serious. And I was just like, you know what, this woman really is serious. And I said, you know what? I said, let's do it. I said, let's train. And then I wanted to see how serious she was. And I said, this is the gym I train at. If you want to, go get a membership there. She literally did it that exact day. And I said, this is a person of action. You know, somebody that's not just a talker. She's really making it happen. She said, I signed up. I'm ready to go. I got everything. And I was like, okay. And so I saw her, and she came in, and she was just like, you know, I'm not going to let, what was the word she used? Basically. Yeah, she's like, I'm not going to let my disability limit me to my capabilities, you know, and my abilities to do things. I'm going to overcome this. And I said, okay. And sometimes I got a little worried because the first day she went, she gave it her all, 100%. And I didn't want her to get injured. So I'm like, you know, let's take it chill. It's day by day. You know, don't worry. We got all these days ahead of us. We don't got to get to the finish line on day one. And so, but yeah, she just fully pushed herself. So I was like, let me give her a little bit more. And then she started off with the sled. You know, she was pushing it just with no weight. And I was watching her push. And it honestly inspired me. I'm like, wow, here's this woman that has to walk with a walker, but she's not letting that. And yet I have other people that make excuses of why they can't get to the gym because they're tired from work, or they have kids, or they have this, or there's other things going on in life. But I'm like, here's this woman that has trouble walking, but yet she's pushing a sled. She's not even walking, she's pushing a sled. And then the next time she's pushing with weights. And we got all the way up to 120 pounds on the sled. And it was impressive. And I'm like, it's somebody that doesn't make excuses. And so at the end of the day, you know, all these people have excuses of why they can't accomplish things. But if you always make an excuse, you're never going to accomplish it. You think that lady said, no, Chloe, I can't do 100 pounds, or no, I can't push the sled. She literally and sometimes I'm like, okay, you're good. She's like, no, I got more in me, because she knows inside that she can push herself harder. For me, I see it looks like she's struggling and I don't want her to get injured, but she's like, no, we'll be good. I want to push myself more. And that's the kind of person that wins in life, the one that doesn't just want to hit that goal, but exceed that goal. She's over there exceeding the standard every single day she comes in.
So walk us through where she started and where's she at now? Can she walk around?
Yeah, she can walk around without her walker now. She's walking out with her walker. Some days she does use it, but she doesn't need to if she doesn't want to. Sometimes, like, well, after our workout, she uses her walker because she's feeling it. But yeah, she doesn't. She's walking faster. I mean, and really, I found that the part that we need to strengthen. And so I'll even, like, sometimes with the machines with the hamstring curls, it's a little hard for her. But what I'll do is I'll have her lay down, and I'll use my hand as a weight for as pretending as like a hamstring curl. So I'll push her ankle down, and she'll push it back up, and we'll just kind of wear and back and forth until it's fully exhausted, till we hit that muscle failure on it. And yeah, but she's doing really phenomenal, and she pushes herself every single day. There's no excuses. She comes in. But it all starts in the mind, you know. She had that right mindset, you know, and I feel like a lot of people, you need to have a plan. You know, what did she do? She had a plan. She said, I'm going to come in there and I'm not going to let my disability limit me and become what I'm capable of, you know. She mentally had it in her head that she's going to be able to walk and fully do everything, and that one day she's not going to need her brace on her leg or any of that she's going to make it happen. And so what did she do? She had her plan. First, her mindset was right. So she had the right mindset to win in life. Then she had her plan, and then she acted upon it. You know, some people, they have the first two, or maybe they just have the first part, but they don't even act upon it. And the first thing, I even told one of her friends, because he's like, well, I want to go. I need to get motivated. There's another guy in the bank. And I said, well, the first step is you got to show up, you know.
What do you think, Kolohe? Like, you've seen me in the action, and you always use me where you tell people, I know a guy that's got a lot of fucking shit going on in his life, and there's no excuse. He's here. What do you think gives me that fire? Just from the outside.
Well, I know, like, you don't make excuses, though. So I'm like, you know, if it comes down to what's your priorities in life, you know, and it's a priority. Your fitness is a priority, because it's just like anything in life. If we're all busy, you know, so I'm like, you can't give me that excuse of busy or this or that, because you know what? You never tell me you're too busy to eat. You know, like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm not going to eat dinner. I mean, some people, they use that, and that's why they look like how they do. But I'm like, if it's truly important, you're going to make time to eat or get that meal in. Or, you know, you're never going to say, oh, I'm too busy, I can't pick up my kids from school. No, you're not going to say that, you know. You're not too busy to do that. Or maybe you're busy, but you make sure that's a priority in your life, getting your kids from school, or getting your kids to football practice, or getting your kids to home to get ready for, you know, to go to sleep, or whatever it is.
And you got to put that structure. I think that one thing about me is I go to bed early, right? I don't give a crap what people say. And so I know I got to get early. So in order for me to work out, I got to be up here at the office early as shit, starting early, so that I can get all my tasks done so that they're not lingering in my head. So when I'm in the gym, I'm present. You never see me pick up my phone. Once it's in the bag, it's in the bag. I could give less a crap, right? I'm going at it. I stay focused in what I do. And I think that's one thing where people don't understand is that you have to prioritize your life so that you can attain those things. But you either make time for your health and your fitness, or it will make you make time for it. Mm-hmm. And, long while back when me and Nikki Swagger were talking, I had some major gut issues. Holy shit. I talked about in a podcast where I was kind of freaked out. I've been in an emergency room twice, just a lot of bullshit. And when I had to stop and think about my body, and I said, well, what is it? And I wasn't thinking about it. And it was a really simple crap of literally fiber and really being mindful and watching that out. And then I figured out by talking, because I'm a person who's always investigating. And I'm like, well, what is it? Is it Metamucil? What's this? And I was like, and you talk to a doctor, they want to right away put you on some kind of medication or, take this shit, and then your body's dependent on it. And I was like, my mom was a very natural lady. She didn't like any of that crap. So I kind of learned all that. And it was crazy because I'm going to send a shout out here. I go to Beyond Health, Christy Fury, what an amazing person, amazing staff out there. And I couldn't find a doctor to save my fucking life, because my doctor retired. And then one of my attorneys, Doug, he says, Jack, he's like, have you ever thought of going to private medicine? And I said, what does that mean? He's like, well, you pay a fee, but then they get to see you whenever. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Crazy part is I go to this place, I pay the fee, and I'm having these gut issues. And I'm like, her approach is like, well, what do they do? And I said, well, A, B, and C. And she's like, I just think you're constipated. Just plain simple shit, right? And so then I'm like, okay, well, what I got to do? And then we started to work on this stuff. And then she's like, take these vitamins. I want you to take vitamin C. I want you to take vitamin D. Your vitamin D is really low. This is affecting you. And at first I'm thinking, these guys just trying to sell me on all these, because the vitamins are expensive, right? They're supposed to be highly grade, pharmaceutical grade stuff. And you see a lot of ballers walking in. So I'm thinking, are we just, no, but then I said, no, this is a real deal. Holyfield. Then for myself, in my family, we have a thick-ass blood, crazy shit, just runs in our family, right? And so I saw my uncles, stuff that they went through, and so this has been happening since I was 16 years old. So she says, look, you know what, maybe we try this, but what does a doctor want to do? Let's put you on blood thinners. Now, what is that going to affect you long-term? All kinds of shit. Then people won't tell you, but how about getting a phlebotomy? And so we kind of went more of a natural approach. And what I've done now, getting my gut back in a check, just really sparked up the fitness, because I really couldn't do it. I had all these stomach pains. But at the end of the day, no matter what was thrown against me, I wasn't going to give up. I was going to get through it. And so I think one of the main things is you got to really prioritize your health, period, because it's just not going to come out. And find those people out there. Don't make the excuse like, there's no good doctors in New Mexico. There's not that. There's a lot of options, but do you want to pay for it? And for me, when you're paying $100 or $80 a month, like really, how much really is that for your health? How many people are spending that going out, partying, not priorities? And so for me, it's about, I'm going to have the right people in place to get that. And it's been, like a phenomenal journey, right? For me, it's about really attention to detail. I mean, Kolohe one time, he laughed and he says, why do you write everything down? I said, because I want to look back at it. I document it. I want to look what's going on. What did I do 17 weeks ago? What's the difference? Did I change? And this is why I want to document, because when you document something, you can't bullshit yourself. You can't be like, well, I showed up in the gym on Saturday. I think I did. You can actually write down. And I use something called the Body Minder. It's a very old style book. You can, really has everything. You put your workouts in there. If you did cardio, what you ate, all that. And it's really documenting your life, because in engineering, empirical data is the most powerful asset you'll have. That's why when you see Microsoft or anyone, there's revision 1. When your phone comes up and says, we're now updating to 15.1, what do you think that means? That's the revision. That means there's been 15 revisions, then many revisions on the one revision. So documentation, huge. I think that's something that you should do. If you're a beginner, write it down. I mean, I used to get, all these guys in fitness would give me shit and say, well, why do you write shit down? I said, because I have to. That's what I do. So I think the beginners, it's really important that you write stuff down.
Yeah, I mean, For me, well, I always told you, I'm like, documentation beats conversation. But you hit something earlier that made me really think. And this is, like we said, we may hurt some feelings on this podcast, but I'm going to have to break it down with the truth, you know, and it comes down to the plan, you know. I had a lot of jealousy and hate for the magazine. I had Muscle and Fitness magazine. I had Huffington Post. I had Albuquerque Journal. I had a bunch of stuff, you know. And so for me, I'm like, you know, what's your plan? I think a lot of people, there's some people that want to get into fitness for the wrong reasons. I think they want the clout train. They want to be this like idol and this and that. And for me, it's like, they would always, oh, go get your pro card. And I'm like, you know, I see a lot of people that actually look like pros that are pros and a lot that don't. And I'm like, I'm not impressed because there's people that'll just get that pro card just to, you know, say that they have it. You know, it's just like saying I have my associate's degree or my bachelor's or my master's, you know, but they get their master's and there's some that actually apply it and use it. And then there's some that don't. And, you know, years go by and you're kind of like, this guy doesn't even seem like smart at all, you know, or whatever. So when I looked at it, my plan was always, I'm like, if I want to, for one, I want to look the part, you know, fitness. I wanted modeling and all that. So my thing was more exposure and not, you know, focusing on business, building a fitness brand, building a business around fitness because I loved helping people, you know. And I see a lot of people, though, they're chasing this pro card. And I'm like, for what? So they think that they're going to get famous or this and that. I'm like, dude, and so when I looked at it, I'm like, if you really want to get yourself out there, get on something that's all over the place. How many people go and look at who won Miami Pro Show, you know? I mean, there's a bunch of people. The only people really is the ones maybe following it, if that. But I'm like, you know, when you have these magazines or big articles, that's stuff that people that aren't even in fitness, sometimes they're just sitting in the airport, they pick up that magazine and they're flipping through. You know, I had Mark Wahlberg on the cover of the Muscle and Fitness. I had the feature article, so I had the feature article page, and I had the biggest article in the magazine. And some people were like, well, why don't you want your pro card? I said, it's like anybody can go get their pro card. You go to compete in a show, you nationally qualify, then you go to nationals. And if you win top 2, depending on whatever you're competing, you get your pro card. I'm like, okay, cool. You got your pro card. But you want to be in Muscle and Fitness? What do? Like, you can't just call them up. You have to be invited. It's an exclusive club, you know. And for me, when I looked in that, I'm like, you can have, you know how many pros haven't had Muscle and Fitness magazine? I'm like, we can stack numbers. I guarantee you there's a lot more pros out there than there are other people who've been in the magazine. So you tell me what I honor more, because I hold my having that higher than a pro card, because it's a huge credibility, something that's an invite only. There's stuff that's like, it's like being in this office. Not anybody can sit in this office. It's an invite only. It's exclusive. And I want to be, like you always tell me, exclusive, not inclusive. You know, I don't want to be for everybody. And anybody can go out there and get their pro card. I'm like, and then they think they're going to get all these sponsorships. You know, I'm like, you know how many pros I see struggling financially? You know how many pros that don't have? I'm like, because you guys are so, I can go find anybody anywhere. If you really want to get connections and sponsorships when it comes down to the fitness lifestyle, it's about being a good person first, because that's what they look for. They want something that's different. I can go to Miami Beach and find a 6-pack shredded abs, you know, if that's the case. You know what I mean? But it's about somebody that doesn't let adversity stop them in their goals. The reason why I've gotten all these big gigs is because it's not just about fitness. It's about taking that and using my skill set to make an impact and a difference. What are you doing by making an impact just by having a pro card? Are you impacting people positively? Or are you just one of those guys that, you know, when like we led coming back into that fitness realm where you said it's ridiculous that they're competing with ourselves? I think we could touch back up on that. We have all these guys going against each other. No one wants to listen to somebody that's already done it. You know, they see me, oh, forget Kolohe, I'm jealous. He's doing that. No, I'm just going to bring him down. I don't want to. I'm just going to keep competing with him. And I'm like, you know what? Some people may say it's cocky, but I'm going to knock you down every single time because I'm not in your realm. Whether it's on the stage or not, competing is a subjective sport. One day they want size, next day they want conditioning. One show they want this, one show they want that. It's like a novella's on stage, you know, with the judging panel, which I'm like, okay, well, what do you want this size? Because you know what? At the end of the day, if you want more size, I'm not going to give you that because you're not buying my T-shirts every single month or whatever. If I get bigger, you're not going to supply my wardrobe, you know? Now, if you were, maybe we can talk about that, but you're not, you know. And so for me, about being that good person is going to get you those gigs. You don't have to be a pro to get all these sponsorships. When you're doing good, people want that.
That's what I think about understanding what you're doing, Kolohe. I think at the end of the day, the person out there. So the only thing that I think is, if your goal is to get a pro card, go get it. I don't think that's your goal, and do it. I think not too many people can attain it. It's going to be that far few, and it just get all the trophies you possibly can or whatever in the game. But I do think that most people think, well, I'm going to do this and then get rich from it. No, it's not going to happen. There's a lot of plenty of smart people. You got to be able to sell yourself. And I think what you're able to do is you're able to sell yourself. You're able to deliver a good message. People like it. I mean, I was at first, at first when we were doing a lot of the stuff on social media, I was kind of freaked out because I was like, I don't know where this is going, right? I didn't really know what it was. But what I've seen from a lot of positive feedback, even when I'm with you. When, I'm sitting with you at Papa Do's and the manager comes up and says, what's your guys' message going to be today? And I'm like, whoa, you were listening to this shit, huh? Or the guy at Define Fitness, what's the message going to be today? Stay tuned. And I think it's kind of cool because a lot of these younger people have really gotten motivated. At that show, that young guy that came in now that you're training with, that Braxton, 20 years old, freaking phenom. I was like, holy shit, that guy put the hard work in. You know what I mean? I think those are the cool things that I think in the journey of fitness and anything you do, if you can inspire people to make their lives better and use that fitness piece of it, not to put them down, to be like, well, look at this, you didn't get here, but you're inspiring the regular guy, then you're really taking your God-given gifts to the next level.
Yeah, and I think, just to clear that up, because some people might be like, oh, this and that. If you're going to do something, I think with anything in life, is do it for the right reason. I'm not knocking the pro card. It's an amazing accomplishment. It's definitely an admirable thing. But do it for the right reasons. Are you doing it because it's a goal that you just want to push yourself? Because if you're pushing yourself, dude, props for you, But if you're doing it because you want to, a lot of people, like I said, do it for the wrong reasons. They want the pro card they think it's going to get them all these sponsorships, and they're going to be, and get these magazines and get all this stuff, which that's why I mentioned it. I'm like, there's a lot of pros, even Olympians, that aren't in magazines. They're not, it's a very select few of people that they select. And it's not about being a pro. It's not about any of that. It's about presenting yourself as a professional in the industry, not having a card, because there's a lot of people that even I see that go to college, they get a certificate and they suck at the job that they do. They're certified, they have the card, but they're not. It's the experience. It's the person that has that passion of actually making a difference and helping people. That's why for me, my big thing is in California, they charge $150 an hour for personal training at somebody at my level. Me, I'm not even half that, because for me, it's not about the money. It's about the impact. And the impact to me is worth more than the money. And that's why I do it, because I love it. It doesn't feel like work, And so if a pro card is your goal, great. That's a very admirable thing. But make sure that you know all the things that come. You're not going to be rich from that. You're not going to be, it's any of that. And it's a very time commitment thing. For me, it took away a lot of from my personal life, and it caused a lot of, it's very hard for me, at least personally, it's very hard to have a healthy relationship with myself and with the person that I was with, because it took a lot of time and energy, and it took a lot from my clients. Yeah. And that's something that I love. And so for me, that I look at it, that's why we came up with this thing with having the foods, and hey, if you just stay ready, maintaining, looking great, I'm just going to go on with a spray tan and have fun, because I do love competing. Don't get me wrong. There is a lot of changes, constant changes that are happening anyway, just like the workplace, technology is changing the game. There's a lot of things that are changing in this world constantly. And the same thing with competing, which sometimes some people I see, they get frustrated. I was talking to just someone the other day. They're like, with wellness, they're like, one day they want the softer look. Next day, they want the shredded look. On the guidelines, it says they don't want women with striations, but striations are winning. And I think with everything in life, you need to be clear and concise, not just with competing, but anyone out there. That's huge. Be clear and concise.
What does that tell you right there? What does that tell you, like the hidden message right there? The message I see is doing it for yourself. Mm-hmm. What you just said, we don't want striations, but the ones with striations are winning. That means that at the end of the day, if you're happy with what you're doing in your life, and it's not about that, you're going to be so much more content. Yes. Like, right? That's what I talk about all the time. And this is what I think has been the influence that I've seen, that I think I've been able to give you, is that, and I use this famous line on multiple podcasts, when the general wakes up in the morning, he does not give a fuck what anybody thinks about him. Not one moment. I don't care. I'm really like that. I just get up and I'm gotta take my puppies to pee. They're good. Monster loves me. Armani loves me. My family loves me. You know what I mean? And so that ultimately for me, that's really what I give a shit about. And so ultimately, like, I'm not really looking for external recognition in anything. I get a lot of external recognition, but I don't seek it. I don't seek it at all. I think the one thing for me is I'm always looking for the internal. And I think that for me, when you're able to get in there and just knock it and rock it, when I walk out of there, I'm like, you know what? I like the fun aspect of it. Like I was talking about this, so I'm going to kind of bring in, kind of touch in wise words in a future episode, is about why I think it's so awesome what we do is, we don't banter. Like we have like fun, but I don't even think we ever banter. Like I'm never fucking with you on something or like that. And I think you can't have that bantering mentality. I call it the bullshit joking, like where you're like hitting people with like kind of like a sauce. You can't have a healthy relationship because then that person's in their guard. So their guard's up. You really can't be who you are. So they say you do feel something vulnerable you want to work on. We're like, well, that fucker's going to put me down. And I think that's where you got to pick a trainer. If you have a trainer that really gives a shit about you or your workout partner, is that person there for me or is he really the friend of me? And that's in life partners, business partners, all that. And I've learned to be around people that are want to see you at your highest, at your lowest. They're going to treat you the same way. It doesn't matter. Because if you have to have your defense mechanism up, I'm not going to be with that fucker. That could cause you to make a monster mistake. And I'm going to give an example of mine. Years ago, I was with these training guys, and so my trainer was training these big Olympian dudes. And so he would bring me out, for example, to do, and I have massive strength. I don't even show my massive strength. I said, the fuck, I'm going to do it again. And so we were doing tricep extensions, and we're dumbbells. And so I'm in with this guy, and all of a sudden he's getting kind of wild. And I let my ego kind of get it for it. And so I said, okay, I'll show this motherfucker what raw power is. So I said, hand me a 150-pound dumbbell. Got it up. Everything's going good. I'm getting on my sixth rep. I get to my 7th rep, and I bring it over my head. And when I brought it over, my shoulder popped. I brought it down. I laid it on the floor. And right at that moment, I said, what the fuck was this for? And so I'm in there, and I kind of walk it off. I get through it, and then I go and I start having this issue. So now I have this lingering situation with the shoulder that always pops up once in a while. And I was laughing because we did this machine. It has nothing to do with you or the machine, but I should know better because I have years and years of experience. The machine in some gyms that are used, they're not calibrated. So one gives more than the other. So when you're kind of pushing something, if it's not calibrated and one pushes more than the other, that little micro tweak can fuck shit up. Long story short, I kicked his ass. The fucking guy was a big-time competitor. He couldn't push the weight I did, but he fucked himself up. But I should have learned from 5 years earlier to that same situation. We're out there. I weigh up at the time about 210 pounds, rock solid. I'm probably about the time about 8% body fat. The guy's talking shit, so we do a bench press contest, right? I'm throwing up 455-pound bench, clean, 4 reps. Same situation, knock it out, same fucking shoulder. Feels a little weird, I strain it out. What do I gain from it? 60 seconds of glory, but a long term of bullshit. And so I think that's what most people gotta do is you'll make a decision for 60 seconds of glory, but then you have a lifetime of bullshit, right? In a bullshit relationship, whatever it is. And this is why I like to really outline this shit in the Truth Podcast, because for me, it hasn't just been great wins. It's been fucking major losses. But from those losses, or what do you learn from that experience? I think one of the greatest thing was for me, like what I saw, Kolohe was in major turmoil. I mean, mentally, the shit that he was going on, a lot of stuff that he was going through in this competition. He was hiding behind the competition piece of it. But one of the things that really stood up was awesome is that we went up to level 5. I'd gone to a graduation. So me and Brianna get there, and we were like, hey, I think you're waiting for us. And we walk in, and you said, I won 3 trophies. And I already knew what the trophy was. And he says, I won kind of like the love of my life, my love back. And when I walked away, I said, dude, that's kind of crazy. You did. But you stayed on positive track of doing the right thing, and then everything kind of worked itself out. And we're able to work not only on the body portion, but we're able to work on the mind, the discipline, certain things. And I'm very old school in a lot of the things that I do. And what I mean by old school, I'm not old school. I'm only 43 years old. But since I was always hanging with 70-year-olds, 65-year-olds, very wise men, I really I have more in common with those type of generation than even my generation or younger. I have that very like, what your yes is yes, what your no is no. There is no fucking middle ground. There is no bullshit. You don't disrespect your elders. If they're 3-4 years older than you, you don't disrespect your elders. That all has been fucking lost in this generation. All been lost. And that's the sad piece. And I think the one piece that I do like, somewhere inherently for yourself, Kolohe, I don't think you lost that. I think you came with that. And that's why I have you here on the podcast. And that's why I've been working with you, because you inherently have that. You understand. I call it, people want to call it pecking order. They want to call it, I call it just fucking respect. You know, I wear that shirt, the respect, right? And the reason I wear that shirt, because people need to see it, because they forgot what respect is. I mean, would you go to your grandfather and you knew that your grandfather was a badass and you'd say, hey, grandpa, you know, I want to have a bench press contest with you. like, does that even make sense to you?
No, it's, well,
you see what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah, and even when you talked about it though, like when we're lifting, there's no ego lifting involved. Like you said, we're not in competitions. To me, you're my big brother, I'm your little brother, and we're here to push each other and make each other better. Mm-hmm. But we're not here to like belittle someone or be like there's no competition. Just like, you know, and it's so funny because there's two things that you hit that I really wanted to say. But like when you talked about that with the competition, we're at level 5, and you know, it's me and her waiting for you. And I remembered once she came back, because it was weird because I won the love of my life back, my best friend. And it was crazy, though, because I was like, you know, I don't even care if I won these trophies or not. If all I got out of this competition was to have my best friend back, I won the entire show, baby. I'm the champ. I got the thing that's priceless to me, that meant the most. It meant more than those trophies. And yeah, those trophies, I you know, we did what we had to do. You told me leave everything behind. But even a lot of people use excuses of why they can't accomplish things, and I could have let it be an excuse. And you even saw me kind of struggling with it, but you said, no, we're going to keep through. We're going to keep pushing. We didn't let life's obstacles, which people let stop them usually. We didn't let it stop. It was hard, and it was a different kind of battle. Yeah, I still had my foods in there, but I was battling other things, you know, not my financial battle, but just more so focusing on what's important, you know, in life, and to continue to grow and continue to push. And so for me with that show, like I said, I won 3 trophies. I won my best friend back, and I got 2 first places. So I was like, man, I won everything, you know. But even if all I got was just to win my best friend back, I would have been happy at that. And there I was with my brother, had you guys, it was all of us. We had a nice dinner. I was like, you know, I'm living, this is the ultimate life. We're at level 5 at the top, looking over the city. And I was like, this is the life that I could dream of. You know, some people, they want all these other things. And but to me, family and it's loyalty. You know, you always talked about that, having somebody, loyalty, it's priceless. You know, I'd rather have, we've talked about this before with even people around, you know, having the right people around, but I'd rather have somebody that's maybe not that popular kid in school or that cool person, but they're loyal. That's priceless than having that cool person around, but one day they're going to stab you in the back.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
And so it's huge. And then coming back to where I think one thing that we wanted to talk about, you were talking about it at the gym the other day. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but I feel like it's huge in just even in the fitness industry and in life. I'm like, you're over there battling. There's no battle. We don't compete with each other. There's not like, you know, you have, like you said we had the Instagram story, we talked about Floyd Mayweather. If you have Floyd Mayweather right there at your disposal, are you going to fight with him every single day to be like, yeah, I beat up Floyd Mayweather in hopes that you take him out? Or are you going to be there and like, you know what, Floyd, what can I work on getting better? Because you're never going to get better if you just get the shit beat out of you every single day. Versus like, hey, let's hit mitts. What do you think I need to work on? My speed, my power. I mean, you're the big time kickboxer, so you know. But like with us in the fitness realm, you see all these people trying to take each other out. They're competing with each other, and they're so egotistical, and so they're doing the ego lifting or they're doing that. And for me, I'm like, I'm not in competition with you. I'm in my own world. I'm in competition with myself. So you can compete with me, and I can see why you hate me, because I'm here focused on myself, and the reason why I'm accomplishing so much is because I'm not in battle with you. I'm not trying to say that you're not, you know, I'm not trying to say that I'm better than you or anything, but I'm trying to better myself every single day.
Well, I think you understand who you are. I think one of the things I liked about watching you in size and stuff, you know, one of my jokes for me is like, you know, there's people in there in the question, like, is the general in the sauce? And I tell them, you know what, dude, if I was on the sauce, I am genetically predisposed to fucking walk around like 270 pounds, right? That's just the facts. My frame is meant to carry about 270 pounds. I'd be a fucking monster. And so the thing is about it, I just give them that, and I'm saying, guys, I'm just letting you know that my diet's about fucking 65% online because I don't give a fuck. You know, I like where I'm at and I like what's going on, but I'm not in the competition world. But what I'm talking about, this is where people make the excuse, and it's like, it's the genetics, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, no, it's the hard work. And if you put the hard work in, you're going to get it out. You're going to get whatever you put in. If you put in a half-ass wax job, the truck will see the half-ass wax job. If you put half-ass in your life, it's half-ass what you're going to get. If you put half-ass in your relationships, it's going to be half-ass. And I think that what I really want to focus on this portion is that fitness teaches you a basic discipline, and what you put in, what you get out, and you can apply it to every part of your world. I'm so blessed that I started in fitness when I was 16 years old and accomplished so much at that time period. But I wasn't competing. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. I was just trying to make my coaches proud. That's all I really lived for. Is like when I trained with Al, when I trained with Mick, all I wanted to do was make them proud. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. I just wanted to make them proud. And I was like, I feel so blessed to be here. I think one of the people that really changed my heart, and shout out to him, is I call him Little Dave, but Little Dave's not little. Dave's 50 years old. I was training with him and Eli, and he didn't let anything in his life hold him back. And one of the most special things he told me was, you know what? Every single day when I get up, what I look forward to is being able to train with this team. That really like blew my mind up. And I'm like, this guy, all these people are negative, and all he cares about is that he says, I can be able to train with this team. And, you know, it's so awesome is that I saw him, and he says, we're all sitting at Optimum one day, and he tells Eli, he says, you know what? Not only you are my fitness coach, but you're my mentor, and you're like my life coach. He laid it all three across. And I thought to myself, that's powerful. Because at the end of the day, he's not trying to compete. He's not like, I want to throw this. And I see so many times with people, like, why would you try to throw you're trying to throw the master, I call it, regardless of what it is. And that doesn't never make any sense to me. And that's what I want to touch later on. And so, guys, awesome podcast. Kolohe, we got a lot of stuff going on in this future. We're going to fucking go hard. We're going to document our finish journey of what we're doing. I want you to stay tuned. And I'm just letting you know that we're just going to go monster status on this shit. And just going to tell you right there, so anybody gets nervous, we're going to go hard on this motherfucker. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the truth, we're out, guys, and stay tuned.